All righty, let's start. You all wrote that down. All right, I'm going to move this, and we have done the post. There's several videos on the post, so I won't take the time reviewing them. But I do want to remind you what we're going to start on today is the puddle. I know we've talked about it, but this is where we're headed today. Our post, we may or may not get around to the ground. Don't want to make the video too long with puddles. And we're going to do an exercise along this line. Obviously, I have pre-done it. What I want to show you about puddles is the perspective. If you are standing right over the puddle looking down, it's going to be more circular. But in this area of vision, probably we're going to see your tennis shoes or your shoes right here. You're looking down in it like bird's view or close to it. Further away, further away. In our case, we're working here. If it's too far away, you probably won't even see it, so we're not worried about it. We're going to work here. During the puzzle exercise, we're going to leave a very small white shape around our puddle. And I'm going to show that to you. What I have done is pre-done the post and some grasses. These are by no means well done. They're only for the demonstration for the puddle. If we have a fence post, a tree, it really doesn't matter what the subject matter is. Reflections are going to come toward the viewer. In this case, we have the sun coming this way, so this is the light side, dark side. Reflection are different. They come toward the viewer. So this is going to reflect here. This puddle will reflect here, here, here. If there's grasses or a cow or anything else, they're going to reflect accordingly here. Now, we're not going to get into the science of all of this, and we're not going to get into the real life of all of this. We're going to work on a watercolor painting. That's what we're after here. If there's nothing close to it to reflect, and here there is, it's going to reflect. Let's put a puddle here. Let's put another puddle over here. Now, here's another caution I didn't mention, and I want to. Let me get my paper back. And that is, a puddle shape can be an odd thing. So when you get your oval, it's real easy to get into an alligator mouth here, chomp, 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 chomp. So be careful with that shape. Now, when the puddles are done, so see here or here. Now, another caution here, straight edge. That's going to give you a chomp, chomp for sure. See right there? So you want one to come out further than the other in whatever manner you choose. It doesn't have to be 2. It can be 3. This is going to be up to you and your background and what you want to do. But for now, let's stick with just a very basic puddle and the techniques of that. Gummit. Look what I just did. Painted on the back. I better move that to a different spot. All right, another caution. When you're using the scrap paper to do your exercises, check the back of it and be sure there's nothing you want to keep. That's a little tangent, but the first thing I'm going to do is remember that this post is going to be darker than the sky it's going to reflect. And today we just have a nice, regular, nothing fancy blue sky. We don't have a storm coming. We don't have clouds. Just one of those beautiful cerulean blue skies you look up and you wonder, how could I in the world could I paint that? So first I'm layering in light. Can you see? It doesn't matter what blue. If it's cerulean blue, that's fine. If it's a light cobalt or ultramarine, that's fine. There you go. It just really, whatever you use for sky, let's add that while we did it. I'm going to lay that in. Right now, what we have are solid blue patches with spaces in between. Before I start here, I want to be sure that these have dried enough in here that when I put, I'm not mixing any fancy brown. I don't even really know what brown this is. It's on my palette. If I put this in, that it can bleed slightly, and that would be nice. But to have it bleed everywhere, let's do, all right, we're out of control there, is not what you want. If you get it, rinse my brush, dry my brush. I'm going to pull some of that up. Then I'm going to have patience, and you know that's not my strong suit, and I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I go back into it. Being patient with your paper. Here is one. It's had a few minutes to dry, and it's just slightly bleeding. Let me see if I can. Slightly bleeding. I'm going to try to keep my foot off the table. I'm bad about doing this and then it blurs. This one is dry. So when I put it in, it's not going to move at all. Right, wrong, I don't know. It's going to depend. Now, in doing that, look what I just noticed. My puddle edges turned out to be the same. I'll correct that when we get around to it. Now, the grasses, these are not by any stretch the grasses you would want to paint, but for the sake of demonstration, again, let's do this. If this grass is here, it's going to reflect here and here. This one will reflect here. This one will reflect here. You see that's still a little wet. This one is going to reflect here and here. The fence post here. And more grass here, that's tall enough. Here, that's tall enough. Here, that's tall enough. This one is tall enough that it's going to be back here too. This one may be tall enough to go all the way out. This is probably too far to reflect at all. So over here, we have room for here and here. We don't have room for that one until we move out the puddle. Here, it's nice, big, flat. Here we go. That one's going to reflect. That one's not. It's too far away. That's too far away. It might reflect here, but it's not going to reflect here. These are way too far away. This is high enough that it's going to also reflect here. And the poles are close enough that it's going to reflect there. You know what? Let's pretend that's a little taller and we'll reflect there. This is tall enough that it will reflect here, but there's nothing else for it to reflect into. We're going to get into the road. We're going to use a dirt road when it comes time. Here we go. Use whatever brush you want. I have moved to a little flat brush. Have my handy dandy paper towel with no patterns in it, by the way. And I'm going to pull up watermarks. I'm going to take off what I just pulled up and do it again. I'm going to do it up here. Now I'm going to rinse my brush so I don't keep putting down the same pigment that I just pulled up. There we go. There we go. Now, what we understand right now is that this doesn't look much like a puddle with reflections. We want to remind ourselves that we're not through with it. This is one step, 2 steps, 3 steps of several. Here, it's too small to get my watermark. I'm going to leave it alone. Here, here. Now, in doing my watermarks, I wiped out the post. So I'm going to wait and I'm going to come back to that later. I'm going to do the same thing here across the grasses and pull it up. Now as I pull across, some of the brown is spreading, some of the green is spreading. That is not a concern. It's going to be hard to get back to the white of the paper because we painted on it. You could use Mascoid, but it leaves such a hard edge. Now I'm going to do it up here. Right there. And then I'm going to show you how to adjust for that. You know, you work on these and rarely do you get it perfectly the right time. You're not meant to. All right, there we go. And we have issues we need to talk about. I'm going to go back here to my round brush. And again, any brush, any green you want to. I lost my green. I lost my green. And I'm putting it back in with teeny little marks. All righty, same thing here. If my watermark got too big, or I want the post stronger, maybe I lost it when there was too much water, I'll take the darker and I'll close that up. Same thing here, but I don't want it, there we go. That, oh, ooh, that's pretty. This is pretty. Now remember, these posts are flat. There's not a lot of color. So when you're painting or planning your composition, it would be a real good idea, I'm gonna pull that out, to remember that what is here reflects in here. I'm not going to discourage you from complications, but it can get very detailed, complicated, and that's fine. You just are patient with it. Here we go. I need to put some of my green back in. I'm putting it in between my watermarks. There we go. This watermark got too big. They often do. Again, not a concern. So I'm going to put them back in again. What's going to make this look like a puddle? I'm going to blow dry this for a second here, so we can go in with control here. So I'm going to blow dry this, and I'm going to pause the video. All right, this is done. If you see me test my paper to see how dry it is, and you see me do this, wrong. Oil and water. I want to try to keep my hands off my paper. I'll go in with a knuckle. This is nice. There, those are dry. Now here's where you want to be careful. I'm back to my round brush. Good point. And I'm going to tilt my paper. You don't always have to tilt it. And I am going to wet all around my puddle. And I'm going to wet it pretty good so it doesn't dry out while I'm working, but you can't see it because it's, you know, white on white. You will in a minute. And I'm trying my best to leave a very small, light space around my puddle there. I'm going to make this a dirt road. I put a little gold or yellow or something here. This is wet. That's good. It's not going to go where the water doesn't or isn't. So I'm being careful. I'm on the tip of my brush. And I'm going to take my time. Now, we don't know what's back there, and for the sake of this demonstration, it really doesn't matter. All right. I'm going to go back in with, I've got brown on my palette. So I'm going to drop some of the brown in for fun because it looks so flat. And then I'm going to make some mistakes here. There you go. This will dry, the glare will go away. Can you see? I'm going to there. There's a little sky forest. Give it a little background there. Okay, this is what might happen. Uh-oh, water bled into my puddle and made a mess. I lost my white edge there. All right, I'm not going to start mucking with it while it's mucking, quite a word, isn't it? While it's this damp. I'm going to pull it up with my brush. Here's a way. You get the edge of a paper towel, nice and smooth. I'm going to place it here where I want my white and pull that up. Well, dadgum, now it got too wide. When this gets a little drier, I can soften that up, or I can leave it absolutely alone and deal with it when we do the dirt road around the puddle. A big part of it is learning how to adjust, correct, fix any way you want it. Now, we're going to do this one the same way. And I'm going to put in, sort of cleaning my, I'll show you, cleaning my palette to get this color. I'm doing a demo. I'm not painting a masterpiece. However, I'm full of cautions. When you're using good supplies and you're practicing on your good supplies and you're relaxed, sometimes you will get a masterpiece. Okay, now this looks like a maze. I'm going to soften this. And if it's that white is too bold and you get this S curve going down your paper, I will, in that case, blend some edges. Not a lot. I'm just pulling some of that road color down into here, so it breaks up the white. And I might do it between these two right there. You have to, whoop, look at that corner. I'm going to soften that corner. The whole goal is to get it to fit with your painting. If it's beautiful in the painting and it makes some degree of sense, of course it has to, then you're probably okay. Now, this one is the same as all of the others. So there's, nothing really to show you here. We're not ever going to do pavement, but in a city street, well, I'm not saying never, I won't demonstrate that because this gives you the technique for anything that you would like to do. It doesn't have to be a dirt road. Get a pretty gray here. It can be pavement. See that orange? That's where I like to mix my grays with my blue and oranges. And it doesn't have to be a fence post. It can be a light post. It can be a barbershop pole. It can be whatever your subject matter environment is that you're painting. It could be fire hydrant, any number of things. So practice that, and that is going to take you into a wonderful world of exploration. This is going to be on YouTube. So I want to remind you to please, when you go to YouTube, like it, comment it, and subscribe so that you know when I post another video. So that's it for today. We'll see you in the next, right now I'm watching paint dry, because in the next video, we are going to add more environment. This one I haven't put the puddles in, but we're going to start talking about the environment. Get a piece of paper, draw off your puddles, put in your grasses. Here, right there, I've used a scraper, but we haven't done the video yet on grasses. We'll do grasses and we will do environment, and we're going to put it all together into a incredible watercolor that you're going to be so proud of. You're going to want to mat it and frame it. So I'll leave you here, and I will see you in the next video.